Okay. Hi, good morning, good afternoon. How are we all doing? So, the course of would, I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes.
And hope there is no noise coming from my. Are you still seeing my screen?
No.
Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, whatever time you're joining us. So today we'll be discussing about database management system. So the approach I'll be using to teach us what we want to do, I believe more in analogy, right? And I want to take it as simple as it could be before it starts getting complex. So the first thing we need to know, what is data? So data, they are facts, they are figures, they are pieces of information, just like the name. What is your exam score? What is your matric number? What is your account number? They are pieces. They are pieces of information. They're just scattered around. So now, what is a database? So a database is a digital place to store data in an organized way. Digital. Our information is stored in a digital way, in a digital place, and stored in an organized way. So we'll take an analogy, right? A database can be compared to a library, right? So in the library, what do we do in the library? We store books, right? These books are our data. A school register, right? In the school register, what do? We store students' record. In an HR system, in an HR, if you had access to be in a place where they do power management system, right? If you get to HR is a very good example of people who do power management system. When I get to HR, they arrange right? These files are stored in cabinets. And if you see how HR would label it, so they will do maybe A to D. That means people's whose first name or last name, whatever approach they've adopted, right? Probably the first name. Start from from letter A to letter D. You would not find letter E in that cabinet, in that space. So they arrange it in an orderly manner. So look at this word here, organized way. That word, organized, is very key. Am I communicating?
Yes, you are.
So HR will keep these records. They will organize them. So immediately I get to HR, I see A to D, and my name starts from letter Z. I would not go there because my data will never be there. It would never be there. So that is the same way a database works. But now we are now saving it in a digital space. Now let's proceed. So for this hands-on, right? I'm going to do something. Would stay more here, right? And because it is very keen to what we want to learn. It's very keen to what we want to learn. I stop sharing. I'm going to share my screen shortly. I'm going to share my screen shortly. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
And it's a Google Sheet, right?
Yes.
So,
But
let me put this. So, are we all familiar with what we are saying? This is. Are you familiar with Google Sheets?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So,
Please, can you
because
increase your screen a bit so we can see what you're saying?
okay,
Yeah, thank
just
you.
a moment. How about now?
Yeah, it's better than before.
So now we are all familiar with this. This is a Google Sheet. So on this Google Sheets, I want to create different sheets. I'll call this students, right? I'll create another sheet called records, right? So on these students, I'll create a ID. I'll create first name, last name. Oh, okay. So that I'll create first name, I'll create last name, I'll create age, I'll create date of birth, I'll create state of origin. Okay, you'd ask me, we are already requesting for date of birth. Why do we need age? So let's remove age. What else can we add? Let's say religion. So we have ID as one. The first name, I like myself. Religion, Islam. Date of birth, 01 1960. State of origin. I have two. I have Ajani Aribidesi. So do we understand what I'm doing up to this point?
Yes.
Are we lost in any way?
Not yet for me. Yeah, good. for now.
So you could see this process of me imputing this data, right? I created a record. So now let's go to so let me call this guy exam records. So this on this exam records, I'll call this guy students ID. I'm going to explain some things during the course of our. Then I'll say exam year, course code, right? Then I'll say let me say tests score, exam score, right? Let me just leave it like this. So for these students, so because I don't want to start writing these guys' name every time, this Ridwan Abdulaziz, Ajani Kwadi, let me add another student called Ikumbomori Omofura. Number 4, Chuku Adams. Or okay, instead of me calling this guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? In our schools, we have matriculation numbers, right? So for these are matriculation number. So this is year 2025. So these are the four matriculation numbers. So let's say 2025. This is April 05/001. Then I'll say this guy. So zero. Be confused yet?
We are not yet. We are here.
Who is confused? Who is confused? If you are confused, let me know. If you are confused, let me know. So at this point, a lot of you will be asking, we came here to learn database. Why is this guy, are we doing Excel? Is it Excel they want to come and teach us here? But I need you to understand. So creating a good foundation would help us build a solid house. So that's why I need to be sure if anybody's confused here. Do you have anyone who is confused? I want to assume our silence to be in agreement that no one is confused. Now, for every time this might, okay, let me call this guy matric number. So when we go to exam records, right, we call this matric number, right? In our matric number, I'll copy this guy, right? I'll put this guy. The exam year is 2025, 2024, 2025. The exam code is CHT001. In my test, I scored 30. In my exam, I scored 45. So because it's still the same, the same individual, right? I see duplicate this record. Let me just do 3 so I would not take much of our time. Another exam code, same year. This is MTH 101, MTH 111. In my test, here I scored 25, here I scored 45. Here I scored 15, I scored 55. Or let's say I scored 30. But nobody's still confused here, right? So anytime we see this matric number and we check this student's record, who is it pointing to? Ridwan Abdulaziz, right? Okay. So now we've been able to do something. So let me quickly do, I would want to do some few things on this Excel sheets before we proceed. So now, let me come to this guy. Because of time, I would be doing for 002, student 002, 002, 002. So in his own exam, it's called 39, it's called 21, it's called 15, it's called 50, 40, it's called 21, it's called 35. So on our Excel, right, I could come to say, oh, I want to filter matric number for just this particular matric, right? I'll come here to say data, then I'll say create filter, right? Hope you are still seeing my screen.
Yes, you
So
can see
it. I filter just this guy, right? This is the only guy I need. I click on OK. You can see only the matric number that ends with 001. I can come here to say, oh, in MTH 111, the lecturer made a mistake with the test score. He's supposed to have scored 22, right? And I've saved it, automatically it saves, right? Have I performed any magic so far?
no, sir.
But this looks like we are doing Excel, right? Now, we'll jump back to where we are coming from, right? To proceed with what we are doing. So, all of what we've done, I'm going to explain it with database, how it correlates with database. Why do we even need a database? We need a database to save and organize our information. You know, we said there are pieces of data. We save them and we organize them. And why do we also need database? It helps us to quickly find our information. You know, I gave an example of the HR. If I get to the HR, when I see the file, if I see the cabinet label A to D, if my name starts from a K, I would not go there. The reason why I would not go there and start searching all the way is because those data are arranged properly. So it helps us find our information quickly. And it also helps us keep our information safe and secure. Let's proceed. Now to the topic of today. What is DBMS? DBMS is database you had, edit, find, and delete data. Are you able to start marrying it to what we've just done in the last 5-10 minutes? Are you able
Yes,
to
yes.
are you able to marry it
Yes,
to
sir.
what we've done
Yes,
in
yes,
the
sir.
last 5-10
Yes.
minutes? So now the DBMS, one of the examples of DBMS is MySQL, Microsoft Access, Oracle. Now, a lot of times, we misinterpret what is a database and a database management system. They are not the same thing. So, when we talk of spreadsheets, Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet. Google Sheet is a spreadsheet. Numbers, or if you use a Mac, numbers on it is a spreadsheet application. There are a lot of spreadsheet application packages. So if you have data in a spreadsheet, you can open it in Microsoft Excel, you can open it in Google Sheet, you can open it in Numbers, you can open it anywhere. Just the same with a database. But the database is now quite different. So a database is that engine itself that does what? That's your record. It's where you are keeping your record. Is that file cabinet in the HR office? That's the database itself. So you now interfacing with the database, you need a database management system. A lot of us in our workplaces, some of us use tools like Toad. We use DBMS. Some of us use Microsoft Management Studio, Microsoft MS SQL Studio, Management Studio. These are database management systems. Some of us in our place of work, probably we use PHP admin and stuff. So they help us interact with the database. Because most databases, right, they are in CMD, they are in command prompts formats. You can relate to them in black screen. But if they ask all of us to start using black screen to connect to database, how many of us would want to learn database? That is why we now have a database management system that gives us a graphical user interface to interact with our database. Are we confused up to this point yet?
Not yet.
The essence is that I don't want you to even get confused till we finish. So let's proceed. Now, we said we are keeping records in orderly manner. In that HR cabinet, most times those cabinets they have in HR offices, they are quite huge, right? And they have different segments. That is how a database is in a database. That's how tables are in a database. I don't know if we are making sense yet. So each of those empty files that HR is keeping, read one record, keep Tosin's record, keep Rashida's record, keep Fashakin's record, keep Jumai's record, keep each of these records. Those are, do you understand? We keep them inside files. So for each row is one record. So take that one record as your file. Now take that paper, each paper, your O-level results, your BSc results, each of those papers, take them, let's relate to them as a column. That are now stored into a file, kept in a cubicle within the file cabinet. Are you still relating analogy yet?
Yes, we are with you.
Now, you will be hearing some grammar. The reason why I started from where I started, taking it to where I'm taking it to, is because I don't want you to be confused. There are a lot of grammar. I don't believe in grammar. I believe in making life easy and understandable for every one of us. You now start hearing CRUD. What is CRUD? You don't need to cram anything. You hear SQL. Some people say, no SQL. Some SQL. What is all this? They are just jargon. But when you understand it from where we are coming from, the journey will be easy for us. So now we are discussing, we'll see things like CRUD. SQL means structured query language. For no SQL, it does not mean that there is no SQL. No. It's no, I think no object structured query language, right? So for SQL, so because everybody has different databases, right? We now need a structured way that each and every one of us are able to query data from the database. How do we call this data? Because you are using a different environment, I'm using a different environment, it's different infrastructure, I have different architecture. You now agreed on the universal language, which is the structured query language. CRUD. What is CRUD? It is very simple. The C is the create. Read is the read. U is the update. D is the delete. I think at this point, let me just share my screen, because I'll be going back and forth with the C is the create. The R is the read. The U is the update. The D is the delete. On our Excel sheet here, the first thing we did was we created this workbook called Students DB, right? That was the first thing we did, right? Then we created a sheet called Students. Inside the students, we started imputing these records. Now, let's relate this to a database. When I created this workbook called Students DB, what have I done? I've created a database. I created a sheet called Student. I created a sheet called Exam Records. What have I done? I've created a table. Here, I've created headers, right? When I'm creating my table in my database, I am telling it that, guy, put different sections for me. Inside these sections that you are creating for me, I'll be giving you matric number. I'll be giving you first name. I'll be giving you last name. I'll be giving you religion. I'll be giving you date of birth. I'll be giving you state of origin. What am I doing? I'm creating what? Partitions. I'm creating partitions when I am creating my table. When I'm creating my table, I know that the matric number is going to be in some letters. I know the name is going to be letters. So that means that, oh, kind of data I'm going to give this guy is going to be this. When I'm creating the exam records, I do not expect to have test score as 1A, 2B. It is just going to be plain numbers, right? for the course code, it's going to be a mixture of letters and numbers. Are we still together? Hope I've not left
No, we are
anybody
together.
behind.
We are together.
Oh, no, we are following.
Okay. So now, right, we have seen our database. So do not see what you're seeing on the screen now as Excel anymore. See it as a database. See it that I'm creating a database. So a lot of times, the reason why we struggle to understand this thing, understand the journey. So that's why I'm taking you from a journey. As a pilot, I did say this. As a pilot, you've gone through maybe 4 years course, or I don't know how long. But the first day, are you going to drive a plane? You're not going to drive a plane. You will drive a simulation plane, right? So see this Excel as our simulation into where we're actually going to. So now, for our basic SQL commands, I said we are going to create a table. So I forgot to add create database, because the table will be inside the database. So that cabinet where HR keeps those records, that is our database. Each of the drawers in that cabinet are our tables. So we do what? We create a table after we've created our database. Then we do what? We insert into. We are doing what? You are adding data. Just like we are adding data here. Let's say 2025 04 05 005. What have I done now? I have added a data. Because I've made a mistake here, what am I trying to do? I am we do what? We insert. I delete this data. Are we still together? I have deleted
Yes,
the
sir.
data. So these are the basic SQL commands. This is the create. The create is you are creating the table. The read is you are selecting the data. The update is you are making amendments to the data, and delete is you are taking it outright. You are deleting it off. So in between, there are now some other things you start hearing. You hear drop. You hear delete. What's the difference between drop and delete? What is the difference between select, updates? So just trust the journey we are coming from, where we are. So that's what I said. All true. I do not want to get us confused. So let us proceed. Where do we use databases? We use databases in our schools. We use them to manage students' records. In the banks, we track transactions, we keep customers' data. In social media, we store posts and profiles, online shelves, we keep product lists and stuff. So, but I would want us to dig more from here, because this is where most of what we will be doing. So at this juncture, right, do we still understand? Do we still understand
Yes.
what we are doing? So
Yes, sir. Understand.
okay. So at this juncture, right, there are some of us, we've been trying to learn databases, but we've not been opportune to, some of us are struggling with, I want to do it online. My system is slow. How can I get to the database? I want a tech guru. Life is easy. There are online database platforms you could use where you are able to interact with data, delete, update. One of them is SQL Fido. You can use it to interact with databases online. I think W3 schools too. Let's check. I think W3 schools too have W3 schools have a database section. Database. SQL. So yeah, I think they have what's it called? They have this where you could, so for what you want to learn, right? If you come to the in databases, right? So we are going to do some of these examples. So now we've created records into our, what's it called? Into our students table, right? If I need all of the record in this students table, what would I do? I will just say select all. When you see star in database, it means all. It means all. Please, I need you to mute yourself. When you see star in database, right, it means all. So I'll be doing select all from students. Select all from students, right? So now, so when you use W3 schools to practice, you'll be seeing some quizzes along the way. You meet some quizzes where you try it yourself and stuff like that, right? So so let's speak from, because the basis of where we're actually going was where I just started with. However, there are a lot of things that we are going to meet, by the way. There are some SQL commands we are going to meet, by the way. So I do not need us to, because a lot of times we want to just learn those commands without understanding the basics of how we get to what we are doing. So that is why I started from that flow of using Excel to take us through. So, like I mentioned, SQL stands for Structured Query Language, right? It helps you access and do what? Manipulate. It helps you access and manipulate databases. So like I said, right, it became a standard of the American National Standard, ANSI, in 1986, right? Because everybody's having different databases. So we need a universal language that when you speak it here, it works. When you speak it there, it works. So what can SQL actually do, right? SQL can execute queries against a database. It can retrieve data. It can insert records. it can update. It can delete records from the database. It can also do what? Create new databases. It can create new tables in a database. It can create stored procedures. Let me see how best I can explain these stored procedures. I do not want to assume that everyone on this call is doing. Let me see. So stored procedures are more like it says, stored. So in your calculator, right? When you say 1, right? Okay, let's do this. Let me use this to explain stored procedure. This is A1, right? And this is A2. No, sorry, A1 and B1. In B1 and on this C1, I'm saying equals to sum. I'm adding A1 and B1 together. So any record that is in A1 and any record that is in B1, add them together, irrespective of what is there. And I come here, I say 4. And this is why I say 6. If I should come back to change this to 8, it's still going to do what? So this function I have put here, this formula I have put here is more like a stored procedure. It's going to do a specific instruction that it has been asked to do at every point in time. So if I've set my stored procedure with insert record, XYZ record, the only thing that stored procedure is going to do is to insert the records. So, but we use stored procedures for a lot of things that we need to do. Instead of doing it manually at every point in time, we now try to do automation. Like those of you that are doing automation, instead of doing this, you just put it in automation. We now move it for you. So that's how stored procedures work, right? So I'm using to create views in databases. So views, right? It's when you start getting to an advanced level, you start hearing views, stored procedures. So what a view is that you want to do some specific kind of selects. You want to return a specific kind of result. So you create a view in a database which do some select and blah, blah, blah. So you create, I said at the beginning of the course, right, that databases help you to keep your records securely. So in a database, unlike this Excel, even in this in this sheet I'm doing, if I share with you, I can say, I don't want you to have editor right. I want you to just be a viewer. Exactly the same way it is on the database. On the database, I can give you a view access only. I can give you access to be able to edit. So it's just the same thing. So a lot of times, when I'm teaching people, I want you to understand the basics. How you interact on a daily basis with some of these things before getting to speak some jargon. Don't focus yourself about the jargon. Focus yourself about the idea that led to that jargon that you want to be speaking. Right? So let's continue. So SQL is a standard, right? But although SQL is an NSI ISO standard, right? There are different versions of the SQL language. However, to be compliant, so they all support the major commands such as select, update, delete, insert, where. So using your SQL in your website, so basically, right? We said we keep patient. So our database is everywhere. All those online applications you're seeing, they all have a database somewhere. So a relational database management system, database program, such as MySQL, blah, blah, blah. So for you to use a database on your website, a relational database management system is being used, right? They also use some server-side scripting to query the database, right? So they use for them to be able to get your data from. So RDBMS it actually stands for Relational Database Management System. So it's the basis for SQL. And for all modern databases such as MS SQL, IB, so whatever database is, right? The data in RDBMS is stored in data objects called table, those drawers in your cabinet I mentioned, right? So a table is a collection of related data. You know, you could see the same thing I keep saying. So does it make sense that you go to the finance department, right? In the finance department, you are checking finance cabinets and you are seeing the date of birth of all the employees, their exam records. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? If it makes sense, please let me know. That you go to your finance department to check for accounting records for the organization, and you are meeting employees' data in finance department. Does it make sense?
No.
It doesn't make sense, right?
Doesn't
So
make sense.
that's why you see us hammering on related data. Related data. You don't go to finance and start seeing employees' record. It is not normal. The same way for a database. If I'm keeping students' record, let me know I'm keeping students' record. If I'm keeping financial records, let me know that this database is keeping financial record. So however, a database for a school, right? I could not have it separately. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Are we confused up to
Yes,
this
sir.
point? Are
No.
we still confused? Thank God. So, and I want to assume that over 50% of the people on this call, they are IT personnel, a lot of people on the call are testers. And people start asking, why does a QA need database? I was in an interview, I was interviewing someone last week or so, and he was asking that, why do you need me to know database? You need it. Oh, you need it. Because I will give you a very personal, what's it called? Experience. During the course of the week, I was on an application that we were testing, and at every single bit, we had to go to the database to confirm what is in the database. I love that. I mean, tester, why do I need database? Why should I know SQL? Bro, you need to understand SQL. You need to know it. You need to know it. So, because I need this. So, at least to some extent, it's not like you become a pro because we have database administrators. So, just give me a second. Sorry, just. So, we need to know database. We need to know it for as testers, as developers. You can't just do away without these things. So most of our actions you need to perform on the databases are done with SQL statements, right? So would by tomorrow, right, would write some basic SQL commands, right? Would interact with the database, right? And so, but today it's more of an introductory class. So if you have, so I'm used to saying that in life, questions are guaranteed, but answers are not. So if you have any question, ask. But that you get a guaranteed answer is not guaranteed. So, but ask your questions. Your questions, I'm listening.
I'm sorry, please. I was trying to explain something. I wanted to ask a question, please.
Okay.
The W3 school that you showed just now,
Yeah.
you said is beginner friendly to what's it called?
Anyone, if you want, any most of what you want to learn, right, you find it on the W3 schools.
So do you advise is there a better option? Because I've tried W3 schools to learn some things, and at a point when there is no visual aid to some things, I just blank
No.
out.
So they have. So if you tomorrow, I would also be introducing you to SQL Fiddle. So these you could write your queries, see the result and stuff like that. But you can select. There are different online tools. There are different online tools to people. But also W3 schools have its own what's it called? It has its own online database too. That's what you have here, right? So this is so this is also a database. So when I say, okay, where contacts name like Maria, let's see, it's working. So whatever query you want to run, you could also use this. So any other questions? Do you have any other questions?
There's a question for you in the chat to do.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let me check. Please, would love to know the difference between Oracle and Microsoft database. They are just different manufacturers producing different things. Nothing else. It's just as simple as that. Nothing else. They are all databases. They are all databases. They are all databases. So for each of the database, right, they now have their own strengths and weaknesses. They have their strengths and weaknesses. So some databases can manage very large records. Some might not be able to manage. So basically, that's just it. So do we still have some questions before we call it a day? Do we still have questions? So do we have questions, please? Or we call it a day? Okay, thank you. I think if I made it simple enough for you to understand. So I hope I was able to make it simple enough for you guys to understand. So if there are no questions, I will see same time by Grace tomorrow. For... You have a question? Hello? Your network seems to be breaking. Hello?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you tomorrow.